Okay, hello. I thought I'd give you some background information on me and tell you how all of this came about from the startup to having Hodgepodge training. When I went to high school, I really did not want to go to school. I was one of those kids that didn't want to go to school. I had terrible grades. I was actually lucky to get out of high school. And, and I got out of high school at age 17 and couldn't really find something to do in terms of jobs. So what happened is I ended up going to a junior college. And amongst the courses that they offered, one of them was a computer course. I didn't know anything about computers, and so I just thought that I would take the computer course. I mean, the bottom line is I ended up with an associate's degree in data processing from Springfield Technical Institute at that time. And I started working for Cigna Corporation in Hartford, Connecticut. I started out as a computer operator. After a year of work, I got drafted during the Vietnam War time, and to make a long story short, I ended up working for Army headquarters, working with computers and information systems. The reason was because in 1969, someone issued an order whereby they wanted all blacks or minorities that they could find. They wanted them all in Washington. And in 1969, I was one of 5 that the country could find at that time. Anyway, I only had a year of experience. Anyway, what I knew in the military wasn't what the public was hearing. And that got me to thinking about people were learning things that weren't true. And so it just kind of triggered a little thought in my mind. Anyway, when I got out, I went back to Cigna Corporation, ended up being a computer programmer and analyst for about 12 years. And at Cigna Corporation, when I started working at Cigna Corporation, I almost got fired from Cigna. And the reason being is because I didn't know how to go to work. I'd go to work and fool around with the girls and talk about what I was going to do on the weekends and the soap operas and all that sort of stuff. And in case you forgot that, go to any store out here and look at how people act and behave. Well, I didn't know how to represent my employer because nobody taught me how to go to work. So I almost got fired. And what happened is I ended up taking a lateral move and my career started to take off. And so what happened was during that time, I ended up going back to school. I ended up getting a BS in computer science from the University of Massachusetts. And I got hired by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. When I got to Boston, I started wondering, why was somebody choosing me to handle these roles and responsibilities? And so I thought about it. And I said, well, it's not because they didn't choose me because I'm black, because I am. And so when you hear people talk about they can't get jobs because of their color, their age, their sex, all that sort of stuff, I said, well, that's not the reason. Anyway, I said, well, I stutter sometimes, and so why did they choose me? Anyway, so I came up with the conclusion that they could see more in me than I could see in myself. And shortly after that time, I ended up getting a call from the city of Hartford, Connecticut, asking me if I could design a computer training program to train minorities to become computer programmers. And I told them I'd think about it, and that I'd get back to them. And so I thought about it, and during that time period, what happened is I ended up going back to school. I went back to school to get my master's degree, and I did my master's on learning. Like, how do you know what you know? How did it all happen? How did you get old? And what happened is I ended up developing this model, which you'll see in my workshops, in terms of model on learning and development based on age and time that I developed, that basically said that based on the things that you do, over time you get good at them. And anyway, so getting back to the story about developing the computer training program, anyway, I got back to the city of Hartford and I said, everybody does not have the ability to become a computer programmer. I said, but everybody's going to have to use a computer. I said, I could design a program that doesn't exist, that takes all the other skills and abilities that a person has developed from what they enjoy doing, good at doing, and I can wrap computer technology around that and produce a totally different individual that would satisfy their need as well as satisfy an employer need. Anyway, shortly after that conversation, no more than 2 or 3 days, I ended up having a vision or a premonition. And as clear as I'm presenting this to you, and this is public now, I heard a voice, and the voice said, you're going to design a training program. And at that important time, I hadn't started yet. And I stood up and looked around. There was nobody there. And then the voice came back, and the voice said, "You're going to design a training program that's going to affect a large number of people." And anyway, so I just kind of didn't pay too much attention to it after that. It went away. Anyway, I ended up designing the program, and the funding for that program got canceled. Anyway, so I continued to work at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. And anyway, so what happened is when I ended up taking the job working for Pitney Bowes, in year number 3 or 4, I got caught up into a reorganization. I met with my senior people, and they asked me what did I want to do as far as having a career at Pitney Bowes. And I boldly said, well, if I get my way, I believe I have something that can shift the country. And I was talking to my senior vice president, and he laughed, and he said, well, let's get serious here. And I said, I am serious. I've designed this program that I believe could help an awful lot of people and help employers. Anyway, to make a long story short, I ended up leaving Pitney Bowes, and I actually started that. I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I said, I should start a company. And so what I did was I looked at my background. I thought of some things. Number one, I was in the computer field, and so I thought that I knew where computers had come from, and I thought I knew where they were going. I had the military experience because that's what gave me the idea as to how people are learning. I took my workplace knowledge of almost being fired, knowing how to represent my company. I was writing programs, computer training programs, and because I almost had gotten fired, I understood growth because I started growing within the company. And plus I was a minority, and so I felt as though I had a solution for all the people who come up with these reasons as to how come they couldn't do that. And plus I had the credentials. And since I was a different person, I thought I could bring a different product to the market, of which I did. Anyway, so what happened was that I left. I started a company that's called High-Tech Training Associates, and we introduced the program initially. It was called the Job Readiness and Computer Literacy Training Program. We took it to the community-based organizations first, and then to the 2-year college level, and then to the 4-year college level. Ended up implementing the program in the 5 colleges, put over 1,000 people through this program. That program that the city of Hartford had asked me to design is now called the Ultimate Job Transition Training Program, of which, when you see the videos, all the results have come from this program, based on looking at the uniqueness that each individual has and the results that it has produced. Anyway, so what happened was that after putting almost 1,000 people through, there were 6 trainers involved at the time. We sat down, and one of the board members said, you're actually dealing with people's unique skills and abilities. And I said, yes, that's what I designed. And so the person said, well, that's a hodgepodge mix. And I said, yeah. And I said, well, we need a company to market our programs in order to maintain the copyrights and the legalities that you've created under High-Tech Training Associates. And so what happened was Hodgepodge Training was born out of that. And Hodgepodge Training focuses on the unique skills and abilities that each individual has, but it's the marketing arm of High-Tech Training Associates in order to market products out. Anyway, so that's how Hodgepodge came about, as far as looking at the unique mix of skill sets. Now, hodgepodge in the dictionary means it's kind of a derogatory statement, but just as I've implemented other programs, I recently submitted a definition of skill, which we use in our programs that was accepted by the Urban Dictionary. I'm going to be sending in a definition for hodgepodge, which is the unique mix of skills that each individual possesses. That's going to be the definition. And so the definitions that I've used have become acceptable. So shortly, in the near future, but maybe by the time this video is out, you can go out to the dictionary, and hodgepodge is going to be in there as a way to look at the uniqueness of each individual. Anyway, so what has happened is that's how hodgepodge came about. And since that time, if I get back to the vision, what happened is that once we had put over 1,000 people through our program, the biggest charge was how do we get it to the market? And, and again, to make a long story short, a few years ago I got introduced to a national organization that had individuals who, investors, entrepreneurs, people with good ideas. My project got picked up by these movers and shakers who have the ability to move and shake things on the planet. What happened is they redesigned my business plan because initially I wanted to put this in colleges across the country because we had already gotten it in 5. And they revised my business plan. We had several conference calls and suggested I package my programs. In addition to that, I met someone and asked me had I done any publishing. And I said, no. The person said, well, you got a solid program. Why don't you start publishing books? And so I started writing books on our curriculum. And then I ran into a few other people who offered that allowed us to create videos of our workshops. And I ended up getting a radio show that I said, wow, we're going to reach about 3 million people. And since that time, I've been offered a way to expand my radio show out across the country. Our products now, I have soft copies, audiobooks. We're going to be using social media to launch those. They're not launched yet, but we're there. Our books have been converted from English into Spanish as well, and we're looking at Chinese next. And so the thought is that I'm actually sitting on the verge of watching this vision come to life of reaching a large number of people. I just wanted to share that so when you see in the videos and hear some of the testimonials of what individuals have gotten out of our program, you can understand where it came from. And I know that you have a unique skill set as well, and I know that somebody out there is looking for you. And the good part about our training program so far, the 1,000+ people, as well as the 10,000+ that have attended our workshops, the jobs that people have gotten vary, but 100% of those jobs have all been at competitive wages. We just do it differently. We have no traditional problems because we do not run our programs traditionally. Anyway, I hope you enjoy our workshops, our videos, and hopefully we can serve and help you out there to find enjoyable jobs. And for all of you employers, we hope that this approach will allow you to increase productivity and morale for your staff. We also have a program for you. I just thought of it, but right now it's called the Job Awareness Training Program, designed for employers so we can take your existing staff and run them through our process. So we're matching the right individuals up with the right types of jobs and responsibilities. We look forward to your support, and we look forward to serving you. This is Gene Hodge. Thank you for this time.